Imagine waking up in the dead of night, not to a gentle sound, but to the harsh scraping noise of your furniture dragging itself across the floor. Your bed starts to rattle, a heavy chest of drawers slides on its own, and a deep guttural voice that isn't human echoes from the corner of the room. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. For one family, this was their terrifying reality. Today, we're diving deep into the Enfield Poltergeist, a case so chilling and so controversial it forces us to ask, was this a genuine, terrifying haunting or one of the most elaborate hoaxes ever staged? Our story begins in August 1977 in a modest council house in Enfield, a quiet borough in North London. This is the home of Peggy Hodgson, a single mother living with her 4 children: Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. From the outside, 284 Green Street looked like any other house on the block. But inside, something was about to awaken. It all started subtly. Peggy's 2 daughters, Janet, aged 11, and Margaret, 13, complained that their beds were shaking violently in the night. Peggy, like any parent, dismissed it at first. She assumed her kids were just playing games, trying to scare each other. But the disturbances didn't stop. They escalated. Soon, the strange occurrences became impossible to ignore. It began with a rhythmic, insistent knocking sound that seemed to come from within the walls themselves. Peggy would search the house top to bottom, trying to find the source, but there was never anything there. Then, the furniture began to move. A heavy chest of drawers in the girls' bedroom slid across the floor, blocking the doorway. It was so heavy that Peggy couldn't even push it back on her own. Toys and marbles would suddenly fly across rooms, as if thrown by an unseen hand. The family was terrified. They would huddle together in the living room, too scared to sleep in their own beds, as the entire house seemed to turn against them. The phenomena were violent, unpredictable, and growing stronger with each passing day. Desperate and terrified, Peggy Hodgson did something that many in her situation would do. She called the police. When the police arrived, they were understandably skeptical. But that skepticism didn't last long. One officer, a woman police constable named Carolyn Heaps, witnessed a chair slide across the kitchen floor all by itself. She later signed a sworn legal statement confirming what she had seen. This was a turning point. It was no longer just the family's word. The Enfield case began attracting paranormal investigators, journalists, and psychical researchers, including Maurice Grosse from the Society for Psychical Research. In total, over 30 different people, neighbors, police officers, researchers, and journalists, would claim to witness inexplicable events in that house. Newspaper headlines began to appear, detailing the bizarre phenomena at 284 Green Street, turning a private family terror into a public spectacle. The world was now watching. Of all the terrifying events that unfolded, one moment stands out as the most iconic and the most chilling: the alleged levitation of 11-year-old Janet Hodgson. Photographs were captured that appeared to show Janet hovering in midair, her body contorted in an unnatural position as she floated above her bed. These images became the defining symbol of the Enfield haunting. According to eyewitnesses, Janet would be violently thrown from her bed and would sometimes enter a trance-like state, speaking in a deep, gravelly voice that claimed to be a man named Bill Wilkins, a former resident who had died in the house years earlier. This voice would speak for hours, telling stories of his life and death. For believers, this was the ultimate proof. A malevolent spirit had attached itself to this young girl, tormenting her and her family. This was the haunting version of our story, but with extraordinary claims come extraordinary skepticism. And the Enfield case has plenty of it. Skeptics, including other paranormal investigators who visited the house, proposed a far simpler explanation. They argued that Janet was not levitating, but simply jumping off her bed. By using a high-speed camera, they could easily capture a photo mid-jump that looked like levitation. What about the flying objects? The children were caught on camera bending spoons and trying to bang on the ceiling with a broom handle when they thought no one was watching. And that deep, terrifying voice? Critics pointed out that it sounded suspiciously like a child trying to create a false vocal effect, a kind of amateur ventriloquism. The hoax theory suggests that the children, perhaps led by the clever and attention-seeking Janet, fabricated the entire haunting. Was it a prank that spiraled out of control, or a desperate cry for attention from children of a recent divorce? Yet, some pieces of evidence just don't fit neatly into the hoax narrative. Why would a police officer risk her career by signing a sworn affidavit about a chair moving on its own? It's one thing for a family to lie, but for an officer of the law to put her testimony on official record is another matter entirely. And then there's the voice of Bill Wilkins. Audio engineers who analyzed the recordings confirmed that while Janet was speaking, the voice was not being produced using her normal vocal cords. They concluded it was being created using her false vocal folds, a technique that is incredibly difficult to maintain for long periods without causing damage, especially for a child. This anatomical anomaly has never been fully explained. These lingering questions are what keep the Enfield case from being easily dismissed. This leaves us with two parallel competing truths. In one version, the Hodgson family, particularly young Janet, was the target of a genuine and terrifying poltergeist. They endured 2 years of relentless psychological and physical torment from an entity they couldn't see or understand. The levitations, the moving furniture, the disembodied voice, it was all real. In the other version, 2 clever little girls orchestrated one of the most successful hoaxes of the 20th century. Maybe they were seeking attention, maybe it was a game that went too far, but they managed to fool investigators, journalists, and even the police, creating a modern ghost story that would captivate the world for decades. Was it a haunting, or was it a trick? So, as we zoom out from that ordinary council house in North London, with one upstairs window glowing eerily in the night, the question remains. Was the Enfield case a genuine, terrifying haunting that science is yet to explain? Or was it the greatest paranormal hoax of the 20th century, masterminded by an 11-year-old girl? The evidence points in both directions, leaving the truth shrouded in mystery. Which truth do you believe? Let us know your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoy diving into mysteries that challenge what we think we know, make sure to subscribe for more parallel truths. Thanks for watching.